Greetings, everyone. We appreciate your participation today. We have a novel narrative to present to you. My name is Andrew, and I have been involved in this endeavor for 5 years. I believed I was a contentedly married man. My wife Lucy and I maintained what many would characterize as a solid and healthy relationship. We did not experience significant conflicts, supported one another, and generally, life felt normal and comfortable. Isn't that the essence of marriage? A partnership characterized by mutual growth, the construction of a shared existence, and unwavering trust in one another's support regardless of circumstances. However, circumstances have deteriorated initially. I did not recognize it immediately. It was minor, easily attributable to stress or a negative disposition. It is only one of those weeks when circumstances appear rather unbalanced. However, over time, those minor changes evolved into something I could no longer overlook. Lucy had consistently been an affectionate woman. Upon my return home from work, she would welcome me with a warm embrace. Occasionally, she draws me in for an extended, languorous kiss as if she genuinely longs for my presence. Recently, the kisses have been minimal, resembling a fleeting peck akin to that given to a distant relative out of obligation. Conversations once transpired seamlessly between us. We could discuss several topics, although she seemed minimally engaged. When I inquired about her employment, she responded with terse, abbreviated replies. The warmth in her voice was vanished. The mirth, the banter, the levity had vanished. We seemed to coexist rather than function as a pair, followed by the onset of mood swings. One moment she would appear preoccupied, lost in contemplation. The next, she would react sharply to my minor inquiries. When I asked whether she was well or if something troubled her, she consistently asserted that she was well. Each time I applied slight pressure, I hoped she would permit me entry. "Are you certain?" I inquired, and each time the response was identical. "I am well." Andrew, however, I realized she was not. The more I attempted to understand her actions, the more it benefited me. I reminisced about the initial years of our marriage when everything seemed effortless. We conversed for hours, oblivious to the passage of time, while reclining in bed. Entwined in one another's embrace, murmuring our intentions. We were a cohesive one, but now it seemed she was distancing herself. Gradually, yet inevitably, as to a tide withdrawing from the coastline. I exerted greater effort. I organized date evenings, increased my emotional check-ins with her, and undertook small household tasks that I knew she valued. I sought to elicit a reaction, although nothing altered. One night, I sat in bed, gazing at the ceiling, acutely aware of the escalating quiet between us. Months had elapsed since Lucy and I had engaged in intimacy. I was perplexed as to why I had devoted hours to researching online methods to reconnect with a distant spouse, perusing articles, relationship advice forums, and even those misguided "Save Your Marriage" guides authored by individuals who appeared equally bewildered as I felt. One recurring theme was intimacy. Physical touch has the potential to restore emotional intimacy. The rationale is coherent. Lucy and I have scarcely made physical contact recently. There were no affectionate embraces, no light-hearted banter, only fleeting, insipid kisses that seemed more like an afterthought than a genuine display of love, and these were inconsistent as well. Hence, I resolved to attempt something straightforward. I extended my hand and delicately grasped hers, a subtle gesture devoid of power, as my fingers lightly made contact with hers. She recoiled as if I had scalded her. "Please refrain from engaging with me." Her tone was frigid. I shifted to my side and resolved to exert greater effort as Lucy conversed with me. My voice was gentle and deliberate. "What is the issue? Did I commit an error?" She refrained from turning to face me. She remained stationary. She remained motionless, as if anticipating my silence. I stretched out once again, this time resting my palm on her shoulder, yearning for her to meet my gaze and utter something, anything, to alleviate the nightmarish quality of the situation. Then, she abruptly reacted. She turned abruptly, her voice more piercing than I had ever heard it. Refrain from making physical contact with me. Your word struck me with the force of a sledgehammer to the chest. I felt my body tense as though I had been physically assaulted. I scrutinized her expression, hoping for any indication that she did not mean it, that she had misspoken, or that it was merely a manifestation of impatience. However, there was nothing present, only coldness. Overwhelmed by revulsion, I was rendered incapable of response as my mind ceased functioning. I turned onto my back. Gazing at the ceiling in a state of numbness, I found myself uncertain for the first time since our marriage whether the situation could ever be remedied. I ceased inquiring. Not due of a lack of desire for answers, but because I was aware that I would not receive them. I feel as like I am merely a roommate rather than a partner. She had previously professed her love, prompting me to observe rather than inquire. I focused on the minutiae in the subsequent days, during which Lucy began to doze off in various locations. She dozed at the dining table, her head resting on her crossed arms, while her laptop remained open before her. I once discovered her asleep on the couch in the afternoon, her phone still grasped in her hand, its screen darkened from inactivity. That was atypical. Lucy had never been the kind of person to fall asleep spontaneously in such a manner. There were mornings when she appeared fatigued despite having a complete night's rest. Occasionally, she would hastily proceed to the bathroom, and I would hear the toilet flush shortly thereafter, as if she had been ill or had vomited, which was the most troubling aspect. Lucy had never been secretive before. She was now leaving the house more frequently, even when she had errands to complete. She would communicate her plans while meeting friends, informing me of her companions and destination. However, recently, she has been absent without notice. Upon returning home from work, I would find her missing. No text. No annotation subsequently, hours elapsed without any occurrence. She would enter as if she had not been absent all day. When I inquired about her whereabouts, she consistently evaded the question, treating my inquiry as absurd. I contemplated pursuing her to conduct my own investigation, but it appears I would not execute it well. I engaged a private investigator, and after a week, we received confirmation that Lucy was involved with another individual. This was the response. I had been seeking an explanation for her inability to meet my gaze. I could have challenged her at that moment and presented the proof directly to her. Insisted on an explanation and observed her discomfort under the burden of her own treachery. However, I refrained since I recognized something different at that moment. She had already made her decision. She had already concluded that I was insufficient, and I was not inclined to implore a woman for affection when she had already bestowed her love upon someone. No, she did not warrant a confrontation. She warranted being taken by surprise. I resolved at that moment to initiate divorce proceedings and ensure she remained oblivious to my intentions. The residence was silent when I entered one evening. I left work early, resolute in my search for a missing document required for the divorce proceedings. My lawyer requested it a few days earlier, and I had delayed searching for it. I proceeded directly to our bedroom, headed to my side of the closet where I stored all my vital documents. I searched the shelves, examining folders and inspecting piles of old receipts and bank statements, but found nothing. Frustrated, I sighed and rubbed my face. I may have misplaced it elsewhere, when a notion occurred to me. What if Lucy inadvertently placed it among her belongings? This would not be the first instance of my belongings inadvertently ending up on her side of the closet. I shifted to her side and began examining her belongings. However, what I discovered instead rendered me breathless. Inside a plain white envelope was a prenatal scan result. For a brief moment, my mind struggled to comprehend the sight before me. Lucy was pregnant. My hands quivered as I gradually extracted the paper, my eyes meticulously examining the facts. More than a month has passed. I sense my heartbeat pounding against my ribcage. She never explained why I observed the date on the ultrasound. My mind began to compute the timeline. Was this the reason for her distance? Was this why she had snapped at me that night in bed and saw me as a stranger? She was unable to rise, and then a far more alarming thought into my mind. Could it possibly be mine? This matter could not be postponed. I could not remain silent about this information, I could not feign ignorance. I was unaware of my need for answers, and I do not recall how the remainder of that evening transpired. Time became indistinct, and all I could do was remain seated, attempting to prevent my thoughts from descending into a realm darker than mere rage. The sound of keys jangling at the door redirected my attention as it swung open and Lucy entered. Utterly oblivious to the impending storm. She held her phone in one hand, perusing content. Scarcely lifting one's gaze. I did not allow her to acclimate. How long have you been aware of your pregnancy? The words escaped my lips before I could contemplate tempering them. Lucy halted abruptly, her body tensing, her mouth parting slightly, yet no words emerged. A profound silence enveloped us. She ultimately suppressed her voice, which was scarcely audible, as I was about to inform you, prompting my laughter. Rising from the couch, my entire body was stiff. Why would one require preparation to inform their husband of a pregnancy, or is the child not his? The moment the words escaped my lips, I observed the little hesitation in Lucy, who promptly straightened her stance and exclaimed, "Of course." I do not believe her, not for one instant. I approached closer, my voice low and resolute, stating that I will conduct a DNA test. She succumbed, releasing a strangled, fractured sob. I am uncertain of the father's identity. The revelation was not merely a confession, but a fatal decree for all we had constructed together over the months. I sensed that something was off. I had doubted my own sanity and contemplated whether I was hallucinating or overreacting, yet, this was the confirmation I had never desired. I exhaled carefully, willing myself to maintain a calm voice, preparing myself. The divorce documents will be prepared shortly. Lucy knelt down. She was weeping, imploring me to reconsider, to avoid hasty decisions, and to allow her the opportunity to elucidate. I was indifferent, there was nothing further to clarify. Lucy did not facilitate the divorce process. She did not weep for an extended period, instead, she became enraged. She prolonged the legal proceedings and rendered the experience as excruciating as feasible. She sought the residence in alimony, contending that 5 years of matrimony entitled her to compensation, which I entrusted to my attorney. I was not engaged in an argument. I refrained from granting her satisfaction. Subsequently, the DNA test findings confirmed that the infant was not my biological child. She became uncommunicative, no further false justifications or disputes over assets ensued. She had no remaining support as the court sided with me. She departed with no substantial gain. I harbor no regrets about my departure, not even for an instant. Had I remained and permitted her manipulation, would have been rearing another man's offspring. Ensnared in deception. I never requested it. By the time the divorce was concluded, I had already emotionally disengaged due to the conflicts, deceit, and protracted legal disputes. It completely exhausted me. It was not until several months later that I had comprehensive information regarding the entirety of Lucy's affair. Through common acquaintances and fragments of information revealed during legal proceedings, I discovered the complete narrative around Lucy's pregnancy revelation. She approached her lover, the man for whom she had jeopardized everything, anticipating that he would demonstrate that her sacrifice of her marriage was not in vain. Perhaps, beneath the surface, she wished he would affirm their potential as a genuine family and assume the responsibility of caring for her now that she had severed ties with me. However, the truth struck her profoundly: her partner did not desire the child. He explicitly instructed her to dispose of it. He was unprepared for parenthood. He was averse to assuming responsibility. He was unwilling to alter his life for her. Lucy was astonished. She had persuaded herself that departing from me signified a transition to a superior existence, one in which she would ultimately find happiness. However, she subsequently recognized that she had obliterated all for naught, leading to her emotional breakdown. Rather than accepting responsibility for her decisions and confronting the reality of her grave error, she allowed her anger to fester and directed it onto me. Consequently, she grew aloof. That is the reason she was unable to meet my gaze. Consequently, she expressed her inability to tolerate me. It was unrelated to me. She was angry with herself. Frustrated because she had wagered on the incorrect individual, frustrated that she had relinquished a steady, devoted husband for someone who discarded her. The instant reality set in, I became the most vulnerable target for all that resentment. Remorse and self-loathing. She did not find me repulsive. She felt revulsion towards herself, however, by the time I comprehended this, it was inconsequential, since I had already departed. I am appreciative. I monitored if I had overlooked the indications. I might currently be nurturing another man's offspring, that is the fact. Certain males avert their gaze. They disregard their intuition when something seems amiss, persuading themselves that their wife or girlfriend is merely experiencing a transient phase and will ultimately return to them. However, I must convey that if an individual does not desire your presence, you will perceive it. I experienced this and am grateful for my attentiveness. It is preferable to be divorced than to rear a child conceived from treachery. That is my reality. That is my lesson. If you have reached this point in the narrative, I would want to hear your thoughts. Would you have approached it differently? Would you have pardoned her, or would you have acted precisely as I did? Depart with the understanding that you merit superior treatment. Kindly share your opinions in the comments section. Let us discuss the matter. If you found this narrative valuable, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may benefit from it today. Thank you for watching. Till next time.